but I was personally abused and manipulated in a New Orleans vampire cult, or the actual immortal.
I am back with more New Orleans vampire story time.
I need to tell you guys about the most insane evidence that I have ever seen of a ghost existing. Photos will be included.
Do something with it.
It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and all day. Money coming in all paid. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just.
Hey y'all, welcome back to All Things Jenny. I'm Jenny and I am back with more New Orleans vampire story time. So you guys know how I've shared another video about vampires in New Orleans and people are sharing their real encounters with vampires. Well, this particular video is by this young lady who basically shared her experience. Not only does she confirm that vampires are real, but she was actually part of a vampire cult group of people who basically abuse her and also mistreat her while she was there. And she's from New Orleans, so she's going to share her experience, and you guys let me know what you think about this particular video. I found it to be very, very interesting, and also her video, not the whole video but hers in particular, I found to be pretty interesting, since I'm someone who really love New Orleans. I mean, it's like a place that I feel like I belong.
Have you seen the videos on here talking about real vampires in New Orleans? Do I think that they are real? Well, my name is Rachel. I'm from New Orleans, and I'd like to be the first to tell you that not only are they real, but I was personally abused and manipulated in a New Orleans vampire cult. Are the actual immortal blood-sucking creatures from literature real? I don't know. But what is real might actually be worse. New Orleans has always had a prominent vampire culture, ranging from casual Anne Rice fans to full-on sanguine cults. And one of the most well-known vampire groups in New Orleans is an absolute machine for narcissistic, emotional, sexual, and financial abuse. You may recognize this, but you may not be familiar with Father Sebastian, the man behind the saber-tooth cult / endless night vampire balls that take place in New Orleans and other cities around the country. As a young autistic person, I found myself drawn to the goth community, looking for individuals with shared interests. I unfortunately fell for Father Sebastian's manipulative tactics and became exposed to some of the disturbing practices that take place inside of his cult. Misogynistic rituals and claims of psychic vampirism. Unfortunately, I was groomed into his inner circle through sexual advances, breadcrumbing, love bombing, and other narcissistic abuse tactics. Some of the abuse and downright bigotry I witnessed included things like him telling me about these dinner parties that he had, wherein if you were invited, you had to have sex. It wasn't an option to say no. And him telling my Indigenous ex-husband and my Indigenous children how Indigenous people deserve to be colonized because they were uncivilized. There are countless other examples of racism and misogyny that I could recount probably in other videos on their own. Now, I know I'm just one person, but there's been many allegations of sexual abuse and other things against Father Sebastian over the last 30 years, and his response has always been to double down and try and discredit anyone who speaks out. When I began to realize the degree of absolutely heinous behavior that was normalized in Father Sebastian's cult, I reached out to other women who were involved and quickly realized that I wasn't alone in my experiences. When I tried to walk away from this, once I figured out who he was and what was going on to its extent, I was threatened, and another one of his inner circle, my now former business partner, tried to sabotage my small business. There's a lot that could be said, and I'm more than open to answering any questions and describing more of this in detail in other videos if anyone wants to hear it. Like I said, many of his victims have tried to come forward in the past, and they're almost always silenced by his sycophantic followers. Again, I can't speak to whether mythical vampires walk these streets, but the fake ones, complete with comically sinister fake names, are just as predatory and have a talent for manipulating and abusing and grooming women who are just looking for a place to belong. I am speaking about this now because I know that it has continued to happen, and I cannot live with myself knowing that if I stayed silent, he could continue to hurt other people.
So this young lady here claims to have an actual photo that was shown to her and all of her coworkers by her boss of a ghost that was caught in a picture taken in a restaurant in New Orleans. Let's get into it.
I need to tell you guys about the most insane evidence that I have ever seen of a ghost existing. Photos will be included. Backstory: I was at a company get-together with my CEOs, my coworkers, and one of the owners of the company. We've all looked at us and was like, hey, do you guys want to see a ghost picture? Immediately, yes. He begins to tell us that he was in New Orleans at a restaurant called Antoine's. New Orleans, first of all, super haunted city. If you know, you know. And Antoine's is one of the oldest restaurants in the city, one of the oldest restaurants, I believe, in America. It has a lot of history. It used to be a jail. It is a really well-established place, has been around forever. So he's dining at this restaurant and he's offered a tour of the wine cellar. The wine cellar is huge, has thousands of bottles of wine, probably worth millions of dollars. So he's taking a tour of the wine cellar, he's taking pictures. There's this guy in the wine cellar on a laptop who is apparently at auction buying more rare wine for the collection. My CEO takes pictures of this guy on his laptop, doesn't think anything of it, he doesn't see anything, leaves the restaurant, calls it a day. The next morning, he's looking through the photos and notices something in one of the pictures that he took in the wine cellar. I'm going to upload the first picture that he took. There's nothing that immediately jumped out in this picture, but I want to give a baseline. So this is the first picture that he showed me from the wine cellar. You can see this guy who is on his laptop at auction doing whatever. And here is the next picture that he took. So we all see that. That is a full body apparition. It looks like a woman in this like black Victorian dress. And when I was showed this, I genuinely had full body chills. That is insane. So he showed that to me. And keep in mind, he is showing me pictures from his camera roll. Like in sequence, time stamped. Those two pictures were like a minute apart, if that, like probably seconds apart. I see all the other pictures from his trip. This is not edited. He's also not the kind of person who would do anything like that. Like he hasn't posted this anywhere. It's just a story that he was telling us. I've never seen anything like this, and I need to not be alone in seeing this because holy shit.
Okay, so right now I'm on New Orleans TikTok where they're talking about all the like haunted and like vampire stuff that's like happening to them. And I don't have like a lot of like stories like this, but I do have one of when I was an EMT, and me and my 50-year-old Christian woman partner, who she does not believe in this stuff at all, we were taking this patient that was on a 5150 that was being extended. And so we took her to like a longer stay home, which I've never seen like a home like this in LA before. But it was basically like this wood house in Atwater Village. And the moment you pull up, it just looks like this wooden Victorian situation, like something you would see in a movie. Like if you've ever seen that movie Monster House as a kid, like that's what it looked like. And the vibes were just like not right as soon as you got out. But I was like, you know, whatever. We get out and this poor woman, she was just not doing well. She was, I don't think I'm allowed to tell you what was wrong with her. Anyways, we get out and she was like, please don't leave me here. Like I can see things, and like she's like sobbing to me. She's like, please don't leave me here. But like, I have to, you know, like as much as I don't want to leave you here because it is fucking haunted, you can tell. What am I supposed to do? I'd be kidnapping you. Anyways, we get inside. We can barely get her freaking gurney in there.
and we're taking her up to the room. The whole time she's just sobbing, this poor girl. And my partner just kind of attributed that to that obviously she didn't want to be in another mental health institution. But so we took her there, they did her vitals, they took her to the room and whatever, we were all done. We get in this elevator. We get in the elevator and I'm like nervous laughing just thinking about it. We like condense our little gurney and we close the elevator and it says 3, 2, 1 and those are the only buttons. So we click 1 and we stop at 1, the doors don't open, and then it just keeps going down and I'm like, what the fuck? And the doors open, pitch black. It's pitch black. This is obviously the basement, right? It's pitch black and you can't really hear anything except like this growling, and not like that, but like growling of like a machine or something. And it's just like really eerie, and the vibes, the energy was just sucked out. Like it's like negative energy. I'm pushing the button and she's looking at me like, Hannah, please push the button. And I was like, I'm trying, like, and I'm pushing 1, I'm pushing 2, I'm pushing everything just so we could go up. And I'm not even shitting you when I say this. I say this with my whole heart. This is the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. We heard footsteps, slow footsteps, like a heeled man's shoe walking from the back of the room to the front of the room, but it's pitch black. You can't see anything. Slow footsteps. And she looks at me and I was like, and we're both pushing buttons. We're pushing the emergency button. We're trying to manually close it because something was wrong. They are about to like come in the elevator light. The footsteps are about to come in the elevator light. And finally it closes. We go back up to 1. And she is like pooping her pants. I am like shaken to the core. And we look at the security guard and I'm like, there is something wrong with your elevator. It took us to the basement. He said, we don't have a basement here, ma'am. We get back in the ambulance. We just had to sit there. We couldn't even clean the gurney for a minute. Like we had to sit there. And she said, what the fuck? This poor woman, she doesn't cuss. She's a good Christian woman. And we just never talked about it. Even talking about it is giving me like goosebumps because oh.
Oh, y'all thought the lady from the 80s waking up in 2024 was crazy? Well, it gets crazier. How about going out casually one day, you stopped at a light, you look to your right, and you see yourself from years prior. Prior you. Your tattoos and everything. It's you. Right beside yourself. Y'all. That's exactly what happened to somebody on here. And I'm about to share the story. So, after I shared the story about the lady from the 80s waking up in 2024, it led to other people sharing their stories. And somebody hopped in my comments like, you think that's crazy? Well, I can top it because I've experienced something much crazier. And she's still here. She's still around to tell the story. So, she shared it with me and I'm about to share it with y'all. Now, this isn't the Mandela effect. I don't even really know what we could call this. She don't know either, but if anybody else has experienced anything like it, then feel free to drop it in the comments because we want to know. Like, this is a strange world we live in today. But I'm about to read y'all the story. Okay, so I'm about to read this verbatim as she wrote it to me. The only thing I'm going to change is the names, okay? So we just going to change the names to Victoria and Emily, okay? All right, so here we go. Victoria and Emily, they were together for 16. She says, we were together for 16 years off and on, but mostly just best friends. They got affectionate a few times and claimed wifey status for a very long time. Anyways, I say this to say, when my ex-wife, what did I name her? Okay, yeah, Emily. I named the wifey Emily. Okay, so the ex-wifey Emily first got her giant white van. It was new to her, but still an old hand-me-down van, and she was 5'5", 115 pounds, and a knockout. I was 5'2" and roughly 280 pounds, so I was a healthy woman to say the least. But at this point, her van was pre-scratched unmistakably and had no front bumper. Well, over the next few years, she ended up letting a boy toy drive her van, and he technically totaled it, but we drove it anyway. At this point, we had duct taped the wheel back closed and the dash shit after the airbags had deployed and the hood would not latch. it wouldn't last shut. So we had to bungee it down with green and black bungee cords. Well, in that time I had also had 2 babies who kept me sick from constant morning sickness, and I dropped from 280 pounds to 125 pounds. And my ex-wife went from her staple of 115 pounds to roughly 185 to 100 pounds. But with her weight gain and my weight loss, we were almost similarly built at this point. And my sister had my kids for this day, so we decided to take a girls' day to go get coffee and get our nails done in the same little 5-mile town each way. About 5 minutes from a major city, but it's the town we grew up in and met in. So we still hung out around in often, even though they'd moved to the city. She said, well, our nail shop was in our small town, and my ex-wife was always the driver, so I was navigator. Well, we came to a red light just before the nail salon, and I looked over at my wife to ask her what she was going to get as far as designs. But when I did, I saw the profile of my own face, and I turned to the right, where our current van was, but looked past us to the nail salon as if she was telling her wife to turn here, but we were in the lane to turn. When I sat forward to look past myself, which was admittedly hard to do considering I was looking past my 280-pound self, and I grabbed my wife sitting next to me and squealed like a dolphin pig mix and pointed, and she saw exactly what I did. So, to picture this, she's talking to her wife like, hey, what design, you gonna get on your nails? She looked over to her right, and then she sees the old van, and she sees herself like looking towards their current present tense van, but kind of like looking past it, like she's telling Emily, like, hey, turn here. And she leans forward trying to look past herself, which is kind of hard because she's looking at herself when she was heavier than what she is currently now after the baby's being sick, and losing weight from the morning sickness. So she grabs Emily, screams, and she tells Emily, look, and she says she saw exactly what I did until I said, it's you're driving. It was her in her tight-fitting clothes she always wore to showcase her body back then. Scents, closed eyebrow ring, and all. Then we just stopped and stared at the van as we noticed the bumper was gone and the scratch was identical, and even the stickers were exactly the same. It just didn't have the tape or cords yet, and no car seats to be seen in the back. To this day, it still blows my mind. I haven't spoken to her in 4 years now, and it's been almost 10 since this happened, but I still have no explanation. The memory never changed for either of us. And I haven't had that exact experience since. To clarify, if it was unclear, past us were a 20-year-old female and 19-year-old female. The us experienced the glitch were 23 and 22. We were together 16 years total, not at the time of the glitch. We both had visible tattoos and piercings. We could match up as my ex-wife has had hand tattoos since she was 15, and they were in clear view on both steering wheels, and she always drove with one leg up onto the seat and in a frog stance, and she had names tattooed on her inner calf that nobody else would have, and I have a personal ink footprint copy tattoo on my shoulder that past me had fresh in her time that I could see clearly. So I know it couldn't have been simple lookalikes. Y'all, that is very specific and that is nuts. Like, I don't know what I would do in that situation. Like, it's like I want to say, like, I jump out and be like, hey, like, try to, like, pull them out the car. Like, is this really me? Like, I don't know. But what would y'all do? Like, I would have screamed too. I know I always be saying I'll do stuff, and then when it happened, I would have probably fainted. And it's like, it's you because that van, them scratches, them stickers, that bumper, you can't mistake it. The tattoos, the way she driving, the closed eyebrow piercing, you can't mistake it. Seeing yourself clearly. Has anybody else experienced anything like this? I mean, she'll see this video, so she'll be watching. You know, she's curious to know. I'm curious to know. What do y'all think? Like, what is this? Would you call this the Mandela effect, or what? Like a glitch in the matrix, maybe?
You got some witches out here in New Orleans, you hear me? When you walk past them, they putting spells on you. They putting little energy lures on you. Lures. They sending them lures at you, you hear me? Ran across a little witch the other day, last week, right? I just felt her when I walked past her. You really gotta have an energy barrier. You gotta have an energy barrier when you walking around that you know really protecting you. Because there's some shit and some unseen forces out here that's really attacking you, and you don't really notice it until maybe a day afterwards. My problems, karma, trouble, anything, you feel me? But I can automatically walk past somebody off the dump and just know, oh yeah, you ain't right. Soon as they walk past. And people be getting you like that. They walk past, they don't gotta touch you. They can walk right past you. And that shadow that's leaning on them, the shadow that's hanging on them, that demon that's all on them, hop right on your shit. Motherfuckers downtown, called the shadow people. So when you walking and you walking past them, they shadow hop on your shadow. That's how they get inside your energy field. So, you know, you ain't gotta just sleep with them, kiss them, touch them and all that. No.
That was so funny to watch, because a lot of people are like to talk on things that they do not understand. And don't get me wrong, yes, New Orleans does have witches. Obviously, it's New Orleans. People practice more in the open in New Orleans, so it's normal. And people do walk around with charms and protections on them, but unless you done something to someone, I don't think they're just going to do things to you or attack you. It has to actually be wanted. It's not just going to be, oh, I don't like this person, I'm gonna walk by them and then the spirit's gonna jump on them. No. But like he was saying before, people do walk with laws. I don't know what he was saying, law, but laws on them to protect them depending on what it is. But they also have charms that is like a form of barrier where things, you know, will be protected. Your aura will be protected. And if you're trying to, you know, send something, obviously it has to be strong enough to penetrate.